Artisans editor with Variety, and I'm your host for today's half hour with From. With us today, we're so lucky to have three of the lead actors from the series. We have Harold Perrineau, who plays Boyd Stevens, Catalina Sandino Moreno, who plays Tabitha Matthews, and Ian Bailey, who plays Jim Matthews. Hello and welcome to you all.
Hey.
Hi. Nice to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. And before we get started, Harold, I'm going to throw this to you. Go ahead and give our audience an introduction to the show.
From is a show about a group of people who are stuck in a town, and there are no ways out of that town. Every road leads back into the town. And when you're in that town, when the lights go down, when it gets dark at night, you are being hunted by something. Let's call them monsters. But that's the basic premise of the show. Trapped in a town you cannot leave, and monsters come out at night. That's it.
Love it. Okay, let's take a quick look at the show and have a look at the trailer.
Maybe we missed the sign for the highway.
We didn't miss the sign.
Oh my God!
Where are we? So you're telling me I'm in a mystical town. I can't leave. These woods are not safe after dark.
I can still hear those things whispering. We are stuck.
I'm gonna find us a way out of this place.
Absolutely terrifying and terrifically good. So my first question that every episode leaves you with is anybody safe? At the end of every episode. No, seriously. But let's talk about the project. What intrigued you most about it? And Catalina, I'm going to start with you.
I find it very interesting to see what's going to happen to these people stuck in a town, especially my personal storyline with my family. I think it was just very interesting to see where are they going to go? Are they going to split? Are they going to like come together? What's going to happen to their children? What's going to happen to their well-being? It was just very interesting interesting, this whole new world that we were thrown at. Monsters? What do you mean monsters? They don't, but they do, and these people are stuck in this town. Like all these little things that you don't see that often when you're reading a script. It was very interesting, especially like the company, the writers. They're very experienced writers and producers and the actors as well. So everything kind of like attracts me to this project.
Yeah. And Ian, what about for you? What attracted you to From?
I love seeing people in heightened situations, in extreme circumstances, and seeing how they navigate through peril. The way this show examines human psychology, to me, I thought, oh, this is amazing. It's science fiction, and it has all the fun entertainment value of the creatures, the world of being stuck in something you cannot escape. So the parallel, or the whatever you want to look at the town. Is it a void? Is it a purgatory? All of those elements are a lot of fun, and they're entertaining, and they have a timelessness, and they also feel modern. And then coupled with, I grew up really loving Ingmar Bergman films, this great Swedish director. And so when I look at his films like Persona and The Hour of the Wolf, these movies that really look at human psychology in extreme circumstances, but in real detail, where with scene work that really breathes. We have scenes that we're never hurried along. The moments are allowed to really be examined and really truly be felt. And the writer first, and then the director, and allow and lean into the examination of the human psychology in any given moment. And as an actor, that's just the most fun, because for me, that's why I wanted to get into this. I feel like we're all we're the verb of psychology.
Yeah, and it is incredibly well written and directed. And Harold, for you, this reunites you with Jack Jack from Lost, who you've
Hmm.
worked with before. You know, he loves stranding his characters, you know, on an island, or in this case, in a small town. What made you say yes to playing Sheriff Boyd?
You know, first of all, it was you're right. It was really great to be back with Jack. I've worked with Jack many, many times before. In fact, the reason I'm married to my wife is because, you know, Jack cast her in a thing that I did many, many years ago. So like we are very close. So it was really good to get back and work with Jack again. He's just a great artist all around. So that's number one. And then two, I was really just fascinated by the story. I was fascinated by all the elements of the story, fascinated by all the people in the story, fascinated to get a chance to play like the lead character in a show. That was a lot of fun for me, looking forward to it. And then I knew these guys were coming, so I was looking forward to working with them. So just a bunch of things that were happening. Also, Jazz, I knew that one day I'd be here with you. So I was like, yeah, me, Jazz, we're gonna be doing an interview. Let's get it. I'm in.
Harold,
Okay, I made that up. I made it up, but you know, I tried.
the Oracle.
Love it.
That was The Tempest, right? Where you met your wife, The Tempest? Do I remember
Exactly right. We did The Tempest. We did a version of the modern day. It was set in the 1800s version of The Tempest with Peter Fonda. It was interesting, to say the least.
Love it. And going back to your point, Catalina, you know, Jim and Tabitha Matthews, you know, when we first meet them, they're at this, as you said, this pivotal point in their relationship. As the series unravels, like, you know, we learn more about the family dynamics and between the two of them, like, and there's this incredible desire to heal. I think, talk about what that was like for both of you to really get into these characters and, you know, go on this journey with them.
Yeah, something so horrible like a loss of a child happens within a family, it just breaks. And usually people either deal with it with therapy and with, you know, lots of help, I guess. But a lot of people just decided that it was too much for them to bear and they just decided to leave. Now, these people are stuck in this town and they have to make it work. They have no idea where they are. They have no idea what happened. They're in this new world. And it's, you know, they're like you in a room. You have to make it work as a family. When one of the child, you know, Julie decided to leave, then that's another point of their relationship. I think it's not just between those, you know, the mom and dad, it's between the whole family. And I think everyone through the season, you see everyone healing, you know, their own way. Julie deciding to be by herself on her own, taking her own decisions. And, you know, Tabitha and Jim dealing with their pain together as they should. So it's I really like to see the relationship throughout the season because it changes.
Yeah. Ian, what about for you?
Well, there's also such an element of, in a family, of trying to hold it together in front of our children, how to not let the cracks show, or certainly lessen what the children see of our unknowing, our not knowing how we're ever going to get through this, and trying everything we can to provide some semblance of a normal life in this nightmare, to construct something that seems okay. And Tabitha, Catalina's character, does a great job of, she's always striving to do that with our daughter and with our son. She's always, I remember that scene where you guys are writing down what you'll do when you get back. What are the top couple of ideas of something you'll do when you get back home? And I think of like what leadership that takes when anyone is in an extreme situation and has not only themselves to look after, but also their children who are there with them to be a leader, even though you're frightened and don't know what to do yourself. there has to be an element of protection for the children, of not letting them feel like there's no one, captaining the ship, as it were.
But I think that's the role of being a parent. I mean, like, I don't know if you have experience, but I do. I have experienced so many times that even though I'm scared, I have no idea what to do, I always tell my child, everything's gonna be okay. I'll deal with it. You don't have to worry about anything. I mean, that's kind of like your role as a parent, is to try to make your children not deal with what an adult should deal with. So I think just being in that little town with people getting killed outside, you just try to protect them as much as you can, and you try to reassure them that nothing's going to happen. But of course, throughout the season, our children are going to find out that maybe mom and dad are not in control. Maybe these things are, we're not as safe as they say we are, and we're not going to be okay all the time, which is great.
Beautiful. Harold, Sheriff Boyd, such a complex character, right from that opening scene to the end. Like, who is he? Like, how did you get into him? I guess episode 8, without spoiling it, tells us a lot about him, but how did you dive into him, and what makes him tick as such?
Well, for me, first of all, it was there were a lot of things about Boyd that were easy to transfer for me. Boyd's a dad, I'm a dad. Boyd's married, I'm married. That the ideas of protection and what you want to do. We were in the midst of a pandemic, and there was all this like uncertainty about like what was going to happen, and how do you navigate through the world with your kids, trying to make sure that they still have, a life. So there was a lot of things that were transferable, that were straight transfers. And then the other stuff, like the sort of the military stuff, and I just had to do a bit of research and understand what that kind of world was like, and what kind of men and women, served in the military. And then you find out that a lot of them are people of service, and then what that means. And then try to add all that stuff together, and then sit that person in a place where his service was desperately needed. You know what I mean? And then add on top of that the tragedies that you see unfold in episode 8. Do you know what I mean? Then add that kind of destruction to their family unit, and then add those things on it, and then just from there, just try to play all those things in as real a way as possible. If I had to make these choices given these circumstances, where might I go? And so it was a lot of fun trying to figure out all those little puzzle pieces. And then, like I said, adding the things that were from my own life that were really easy to add on, the kind of protective father I am, the kind of protective husband I am, the kind of willingness I am to get into the muck and fight through something. How do you add those things in to give the character a little bit of grit and soul? And so that's kind of how my crazy little mind worked.
I love it. Well, on that note, we actually have a clip from the show, so let's have a look.
That's a sight I don't see very often.
Yeah, well, don't get used to it. He's not answering.
Well, perhaps you're not listening closely enough.
I can't do it. Frank, the box. Can't do it. It was never supposed... I built the goddamn box as a deterrent. It's supposed to scare people. I can't.
All right. Let's say you don't. Let's say you absolve Frank of all his crimes. Then what? What happens next time? I mean, you warned him. On several occasions, very publicly, I might add. How do you think people are going to react when you let Frank go? How much weight do you think the rules that hold this town together will carry?
Aren't you supposed to be talking to me about the virtues of mercy?
I see. Is that what you prefer?
Hey, I prefer not to put a broken man in a fucking box to be torn apart when the sun goes down. That's what I'd prefer.
I'm not going to stand here and pretend like this is an easy decision.
Great.
But you built a guillotine in the town square. What do you think happens when people realize you lack the conviction to use it?
You're a terrible fucking priest. You know that? Fucking worst. Now I'm cursing in the house of the Lord. Fuckers.
Oh,
I love that.
love that scene. It's such an incredible moment. But to that, you know, like the great thing about this series is with every episode, you just want to know what is going to happen next. Talk about that from an acting point of view, getting those scripts every week. Like, how much did you know in advance of what was going to happen to your characters?
I didn't know anything. So each time it was like a new discovery, and that makes it really easy to sort of play it like, it's really real. It's really present and in the moment. But that's me. You guys?
No, the one thing they told me is that they lost, a baby. So that's, as Harold, you just add that to whatever, whatever scene. It's good when you put it down there, your grief, your pain. But one thing that I found really interesting getting scripts every week was that every week was, it was not like this horror, oh my God, what's gonna happen? Sometimes it was like, haha, like a little laugh here and there. It's like, it's a perfect combination between lightness and, scenes. For example, this scene with Harold and Father Kotri was, I think, is beautiful. It's light, it's actually kind of funny. And then you have scenes where they're very intense, where they're talking and it's very, you feel the weight. And, there are some other scenes where you're just having fun, and it's a perfect combination between all these elements that, you get surprised when you read a script every week. You're like, oh, this is so different from the last one. It's going to be, so it just everything keeps fresh, which is great.
Right.
Yeah, like Catalina said, that scene is such a great example of the best the show can offer, where there is a philosophical pondering, like a real question that all humans wonder about, and then an element of humor to break the tension, which was perfectly delivered by Harold. And the score, I mean, there is no score; it's just silent for that scene, right? It's just so nice. There's silence. And then the score only comes in lightly at the end. It's just beautifully done. Well directed, great acting. It's terrific.
Yeah.
That's this show when it's really just firing on all cylinders. It's doing that.
Yeah. It keeps you in it, keeps you working. Like Ian said, like there's no music. It's just the voices and the conversation. And like, that's a great tool where, the show isn't directing you how you're supposed to feel. You get to hear the words and decide like, what do I think about any of that? And then like, there's a little bit of an edge this way, and then it goes a completely different direction. And that's really the fun of it. Like really well written and really, really beautifully directed, like, and edited, like really beautifully.
Yeah. Well, to your point, Ian, about it firing on all cylinders, the production design is equally as stunning and visual. And the one scene that I still is stuck in my mind is the cobweb-filled forest. It is, if you suffer from arachnophobia or anything, that was awful. Talk about filming. I'm going to ask you what that was like to film.
No, that thing is tricky. That was really tricky because it's like you're playing this thing and you have to play the spiders of it, and like there's all these things, and there are real trees like this. Did you know that there are real trees that are covered from top to bottom with cobwebs? And so when I saw that, then doing this thing, it's just gross and creepy. Like it's just It feels terrible. Like I'm itchy now thinking of it. Yeah.
All right, let's take it down a notch. Then let's throw to a clip. We have a second clip from the show.
Okay.
Megan, it's Grandma. Come to the window.
But I'm not supposed to.
It's okay. I won't tell. It'll be our little secret.
Do you promise?
I promise. And I would never break a promise. I've missed you so much.
Megan, what are you doing?
You don't look like my grandma.
She's not your grandma.
I'm so lonely.
Baby, please just...
Maybe I can come in.
Ooh. Okay, so the great thing about the show after every episode is the fan theories. I'm curious, did any of you go in down the rabbit hole and read those theories? And also, what is it like having, the show and having, seeing the reaction in real time after every episode for all of you?
It's really nice to know that that people really are invested in knowing how this is going to go out and taking the time and the energy to come up with all these ideas and think about it in such great detail and have Reddit threads and subreddits on the subject. It's really great. I mean, it's such a way for us to have a metric of fan interest. Because this isn't theater, right? It's not. We don't get the audience applause after the performance. So you see what interest an audience has in ways like this, and people coming up on the street and saying, "Hey, what about that thing? And what do you have to say about that? And can you give us any kind of hint?" And I find I don't have any hints to give, we kind of discussed this earlier. We're kept in the dark, which is kind of also nice because it lends an element of surprise for us at all times with what's going to come next. Like it's fresh for us as well.
And then it's actually very interesting. You're there, you shot the scene, and then you let it go. And then when you see everything together, it's like, oh, I understand why they did this, because a few episodes back they said something, and then a few episodes, so everything has a reason. Nothing is gratuitous, which is very interesting to see what's going to happen in season 2, because I'm going to be more careful what I'm doing and trying to put the dots. I'm going to be a fan, thread the dots to see what's going to happen, because that's what happened in season 1. Like, I watched the whole season, I'm like, oh my God, like there's so many little things here and there that it makes sense now. And I think that's just fun to watch. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Harold?
Well, yeah, it's like she was saying, Catalina was just saying, it is really fun to watch all the scenes put together. And I remember when we were still there and we got a preview, each of us, I think, got a preview of the first couple of episodes. And in this way, I was trying to be conservative and going oh, our show it's really watchable. People will they'll be able to watch it. But I was hoping for more, but I was afraid to actually wish for more. And then the way the fans have actually responded to it and the theories that they have, and I'm really thankful and really grateful, because the truth is I really do dig it. I really love it a lot, but I couldn't let myself hope. You know what I mean? I was trying to be a professional. But fans have just come out of the woodwork. And I was telling these guys earlier, it's always really interesting when people in my own family who see me all the time talk to me like I'm I'm the character, or I wasn't there. Did you see when Boyd, when he smacked that guy in the face? Yeah, I indeed I did see that. So it's really fun. I'm really, really thankful that everybody's really liked it as much as I really secretly liked it. So and not a secret anymore. I don't have to be secretive. I can just be out in the world and be happy that I enjoy the show I'm working on.
Well, I'm excited for season 2 because then we get to find out what happens to Boyd, who's left in that, whatever that might be. We will find out, and the other characters. But in case someone hasn't had the chance to watch From yet, or they haven't finished it, what's the one thing that you would say to them to start binging the show?
It's got all things going. It has a cast of terrific actors. The direction is so well done. It's led by a master in this genre, Jack Bender, and a writer who has been working towards this his whole life. This guy has this is his first television series he's had produced, but he has been writing and thinking as an artist for years and years and years, and then it comes out in this piece. And the production design is this early 30s maestro who did The Lighthouse, who just did an incredible job in that film, and then he brought his gifts to this. The score, the editing, it's just, on all accounts, really, really well done. And like so many shows that do go eventually on to success, if season 1 is kind of an omen for what the show can grow into, then I think we've got a really successful ride ahead of us. If season 1 is as sharp as this is, I'm really looking forward to how this is going to continue to gel together and produce just one beautiful episode after the next. So I'm thrilled. So I should hope anyone watching it would be thrilled, because the people who are making it are thrilled to be a part of it. So that's a good sign right there.
Harold, for you, what's the one thing?
Look, I don't mean to be glib about it, but the show is fun. And I don't mean like in that simple way, like it is engaging. It really is watchable. It really is like, it's heavy, but not overbearing. It's fun, but like also sometimes scary. It'll stay with you, but like it won't take over your life. It's a great escape, and also like a great conversation, like a starter or piece or somewhere to connect with your friends. It really is. You know what I found out, which I didn't know before, because I used to say I don't like horror films, right? But I started watching From with a bunch of people. That is a lot of fun. Like sitting in my house, like people watching and go like, oh my God, get out of the room, what's wrong with, like watching people respond to it, and the community aspect of like watching a thing together, so good. Like I just hadn't thought about it before. So at the end of the day, the show is just fun. It's just fun. And that's why you should watch it.
Love that. Catalina?
Look, I totally agree with Ian and Harold, and what Harold says, this show is fun, is totally true. Like I have friends that, I tell them about the show and what is it about? Well, no, there's people stuck in a town and there's, things coming and kill them. Oh, that's horror. I'm like, well, yeah, it's very difficult to just put a category under this show. But then when they watch it, it's like, oh no, that was not horror. That was like something else. Because the monsters don't drive the story. The monsters are important, but they don't drive it. What drive is like the people in it, the stories, the characters. And as Harold was saying, we have a little bit of comedy, we have a little bit of drama, we have a little bit of horror. So when you mix all those elements, you have this wonderful, watchable, fun show. And I have very many people come up to me and was like, well, the horror aspect is there, but oh my God, they're so invested in one character or in two, or like what's gonna happen in their relationship. It's like, I don't know, we have to keep watching. So it's actually very interesting how people get into the show. It's not like, oh my God, I love the monsters, but they just like different things that I was very surprised, which makes this show so much fun.
Love that. Well, thank you, Harold, Catalina, and Eion, for joining us today. And thank you to everybody for watching. And thank you for joining us for Half Hour With.
Thank you.